Today, I'm going to review 5 of the top best advanced strikers if you're on a budget. Stay tuned. Hey guys, today we review the top budget advanced strikers. And when I think of an advanced striker, what I'm really looking for is someone who has the ability to beat their opponent by speed, play right on the last man, really play right on the verge of being offside, give your team a really good option for through balls, over the top balls, and then give your team an option for doing very quick moves or beating your man one-on-one to create opportunities. Now, it's important to note that I don't use a lot of skills. If you watch my channel, you'll see that I prefer to use movement mechanics. And so that means I'm really looking for bursts of speed. I'm looking for first step versus using someone that's got really high dribbling where you can just use skills. So that's important to note about the players that I'm reviewing and how I'm looking at them. So I reviewed a bunch of players here and I was trying to get down to one player. And unfortunately, as I started to use a couple of different players, I found that at the advanced striker position, there were just a lot of really good options that were comparable. So instead of giving you one, I'm going to give you 5. So let's start with Bassong. What I really liked about Bassong was that he had strength and a fair amount of pace. Now his speed's 91 and his acceleration's 89, and that makes him pretty darn good. But it was really when you put all the other things together that I thought he had a real advantage over a lot of the other players I used. And for me, it was his ability to stay physical while being able to beat his man with speed. If you think of him like a Marcus Rashford type player, that's really where I felt he was really, really good. Now he wasn't super tricky in the sense that you're not going to be able to do a lot of the real finesse things with him, but as a blunt instrument, as a freak athlete, I thought he was a really good option because what you're getting is somebody who can beat their man on speed, who's got really good acceleration on that first touch, so he can blow by players whether he's running with them and he has a running start or they have a running start, or whether it's from a standstill and you're using that burst of speed to spin your player. And if you've seen my other videos, you know I love to spin the defensive player. So if you're not going to rely on skills very heavily and you're going to rely on just raw physical ability, I think this is a really, really good option for you. It is important to note that he is left-footed and he cannot use his right foot. So just keep that in mind when you play him. Always make sure you're striking the ball on your left. Now let's talk about Boateng. Boateng was a really good mix. He has above average speed and he has above average acceleration, but he's not a speedster. You're not going to get crazy speed out of him. What you are going to get is a really good consistency in his ability to get that first step on his defender and give you an opportunity to round the defender or get into a better position to pass the ball or try and use a little bit of sprint before you get into a shooting position. Now from a stat perspective, he does not look like anything special, but I will tell you when you use him, he feels really good on the ball. He feels faster than he is. He feels stronger than he is. But more importantly, he gets in these situations where he's got that step on his man. It just seems like he makes really intelligent plays for an advanced striker, and he's just a handful. And I think this, combined with the fact that he's got decent conditioning and he has a really strong weak foot. So he's right-footed, but he's got a weak foot of 3, which gives you the option to go on either foot and be semi-dangerous. Now, across the board, what I see with advanced strikers is that it's rare they're very clinical. So keep that in mind with any of the players that I'm telling you about. If you want someone that's clinical, you probably need a little bit of a different style of player. But as an advanced striker, you're gonna want someone who's really good one-on-one, strong enough to get the ball in a situation and hold the ball or hold off the player that's trying to get the ball from you. And I thought he did a really good job with this. Nothing super fancy, just very well balanced as an advanced striker. So a really good option to consider if you're looking for somebody to push the line and get in really good attacking positions. So let's move to Sulemana. At first, I actually didn't think Sulemana was that great, but what you'll see in his stats is that he's got this interesting combination of acceleration and dribbling and balance that even though I don't really use skills or dribbling in the traditional sense of trying to beat your man with some sort of move, where I thought he was really good was making these little moves. And I used the physical mechanics of the player, and he was really good with using the physical mechanics. So he's got 88 acceleration, but only 79 speed. So you're not going to beat someone in a long range foot race. What you are going to get is these really good bursts of speed from him to beat your man. And because because you've got a bounce of 87 and a tight possession and dribbling stat of 82, you've got yourself somebody who can really weave in and out in tight situations. And I was really impressed with his ability to take multiple touches and make multiple directional shifts without the defender being able to catch him. And he does it really quick and it's really subtle, but you can do a lot of damage with those moves. And because he's got good acceleration, once you make a directional change, you can burst away and give yourself time for a well-placed shot. The other thing that's really good about him is he does have a weak foot of 3. And that does put you in a situation where you can use either foot and he can pass or dribble with either foot. He's also very young. I haven't looked at the growth curve of him, but this could be a really good youth player that you could start day one as an advanced striker and actually get really good production. He's really, really dangerous up front if you're using him correctly. It's important to note he's not going to hold players off the ball. He's going to get bullied in a lot of situations. So just keep that in mind. If your style is more physical, you're probably going to need to go in a different direction. But if you are going to use a lot of finesse plays, if you're going to weave in and out, if you're going to use those bursts and misdirections to beat your man, this is a really, really good option as a player. So let's move to Camera. One of the really interesting things about Camera as a player is I actually didn't want to include him in this list. I tried my best not to, but the problem was, even though he only has 86 speed and 83 acceleration, there's something about him on the field that gives him this ability to just destroy certain types of defenders. If you're playing in Division 2 and you're up against these big, strong defenders, for some reason, he was just able to absolutely dominate them. And it wasn't really any of the things we talked about before with the other players. All of the other players to this point, I think, have had good balance or really good finesse. Camera doesn't really have any of these. On paper, he's got really good bounce and really good physical contact. He's got 81 bounce and 84 physical contact. But it's the off the ball stuff for this guy. Camera's off the ball is better than I think any of the other players on this list. And he just somehow seems to get in positions where the other players may have a step on the player. This guy seems to get 2 or 3 steps. Now, it's important to note he's not going to do this all game for you. It's when he's got a lot of energy, when he's got a lot of fitness. But boy, this guy was able to do some things on the field that none of the other players were able to do. And there were just a couple games where he totally dominated. And he's a right foot player, can't really use his left foot. He's got a weak foot rating of 2. But again, you're getting this guy for one reason. And that reason is to beat your man consistently off the ball. Outside of that, I thought he was decent. He's not as good as the other guys at kind of spinning your player or beating them with a first step or a shift in body movement. But just as an option to have on your team, maybe even more as a sub if you've got a better team, this guy just has a crazy ability to get in front of his man without consistently being offside. So think about that as a player, but he wasn't a player I wanted to include, but I just couldn't ignore some of the games I played with him where he just so consistently was able to beat his defender by a couple steps. Now let's move to Gango, who is the last player on this list, but by no means the least. You could call him Gango Unchained, because I'm telling you, there's something vicious about this guy. When you look at his stats, there is honestly nothing special. There is zero reason you would pick up a player like this based on his stats, but the man does something special on the field. And of all the players I faced, I think I would be most scared to come up against this guy, because with all the other players, there's a system that you can put around from a defensive perspective where you could stop them 90% of the time. This guy's really different. He just has enough of everything to make him really dangerous. And if we look at his stats, he has 82 speed and 83 acceleration, both very average. He also has 74 dribbling, and pretty much all of his dribbling stats are in the 70s, the low 70s. His bounce is good at 78, and his physical contact is really good at 83. Something about all of this puts him in this very interesting class of a player who has the ability to both spin his player really aggressively and consistently and beat his man with quick moves and body movements. And this resulted in him having this really amazing ability to always be dangerous. No matter what he did, I felt like he was the most dangerous out of all of the players. And it's because you had the most options, I feel. Now, his stats do not reflect this at all. You got to use him to understand what I'm talking about. But I really felt he was able to make some moves that really no one else on this list could make. And as a budget striker, he's 21 years old, right-footed, has a slim build, but high physicality. He really offers you this very unique package that I think is extremely dangerous. It's also important to note that he has 76 stamina, which means that he's a player that most likely, especially in the lower divisions, can play all game and still be really, really relevant. I seriously think this is a guy that if you are using an advanced striker in your system, you should really be considering if you're not in one of the top tier divisions. Now, if you look at his growth chart, he actually does have room to grow, but I haven't done the analysis to understand how good he can get. At 21, there's a lot of room there though. So out of all of the players, I think he is my #1 pick. My style is a little more physical, so I like somebody who is able to handle the physical challenges. So Bassong and Boateng are both on my list as well, but out of everyone, I think this is the guy I would take. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna keep going through these player recommendations. I'll be posting a couple over the next couple of days. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you like it, and thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
Hey guys, I'm new to YouTube, so if you like the content, please give me a like. If you like the topics, please subscribe, and always leave a comment if you can. Thanks, guys.